This video has to do with the push versus the pull when it comes to making a shoulder turn. Powerful stuff, and it totally affects your flexibility. So many golfers believe they can't get their back to the target. Well, that's because primarily you're not moving your back. You're typically moving your arms. The arms cross over the body, back never gets to the target, and then you keep thinking it's a flexibility issue. It's not a flexibility issue. In all of my years teaching this, which is over 21 years, I've never met one golfer who couldn't get their back to the target. So I know you can get your back to the target if you move from the right source. So make sure you get yourself in front of a mirror, do this drill, learn how to move and rotate your shoulders with a pull motion versus a push. Also, following this video in a couple days, we're going to get a little bit more detail into using the scapula glide, because you can still pull from the right side and not do the scapula glide. So the rib cage can move and rotate your shoulders. Scapula doesn't even have to move, but the scapula glide does a whole lot of other things for us. That's why it's such a benefit. And that will also give you the greatest amount of shoulder turn. So watch this video, test yourself at home, and make sure in the description box below, go ahead and register for the free in-home flexibility testing that you can do on yourself. So it's going to cover everything. It's going to take you through the motions of the golf swing and see if you actually are capable of getting into those coveted positions.
This cue word is called the push versus the pull. And in this program, we're trying to develop your ability to feel the force of direction of movement and where it's coming from, which direction it's moving, just like the sway forward, sway back, shifting right and left, and be aware of how that force of movement is going to affect your body. And all movement is a push or a pull, according to Newton's laws. And we do know that in anatomy, it works the same way. For instance, is this a push or a pull? It's definitely a pull, and this is a push. Now, although I'm moving from the exact same joint, and the joint is actually moving pretty much the same way, one was a push and one was a pull. If I was going to move a bookcase across the floor this way, that's a push. If I was going to move the bookcase this way, that's a pull. Notice that the pull motions move towards center. They move directly towards me. A push always moves away from center. That's absolutely critical that you not only know that intellectually, but that you actually feel that. So from a seated position, we're going to create a push rotation versus a pull. So you're going to want to be doing this drill again, all of these cue words for the first 30 days, 3 times a week. You develop a very keen sense of directional movement and how that affects the body. So if Jeff was going to rotate into his backswing or rotate that direction with the left shoulder, it'd look like this. And then he'd do it again. Now, if his golf swing was a push back with the left, he's probably going to be a push through with the right. So that's a push, push. So we want you to do that. Take the left shoulder and push, take the right and push. And when you do that, notice how the force of movement is happening out in front of you. It's a push, push. And notice how he actually moves off center when he does that, because a push moves away from center. He's taken the front left side of his body and he's moving it away from center. It's moving this direction. On the follow-through side, he'd be pushing the right side of his body and moving that direction. Now we're going to do a pull. Instead of, it's the exact opposite. Instead of the left front side, we're going to go complete opposite to the right back side, and now he's going to pull. And now he's going to pull the other direction. Now notice how his spine didn't move. It's a pull, pull, not a push, push. And a pull moves towards center. So he's taking the back of his left shoulder and he's moving it towards center, and the right, and he's moving it towards center. I understand this is a hard concept for most golfers, because instead of having your focus out in front of you on the extremities and the arms and hands, or the club being out in front of you, because that's what your hands are holding to, your attention is going to want to be drawn to that club and your arms and hands, when in all reality, attention needs to be on your backside, because that's the correct origin of movement. That's how you're going to create ideal rotation around the spine. It doesn't happen out in front of you, it actually happens behind. The arms and the hands then follow the direction of this movement. Also notice that if he's pulling from the right back side, if he had a club in his hand, the club would be moving what direction? The club would move right, but he actually moved his shoulder blade towards the left side. So it's absolutely important that we line up with Newton's laws. It's opposing directions. If you want your club to go this way, you need to move that way. That's both in the takeaway and the follow through.
You want to build confidence? Make sure you go to the description box. Go do the in-home flexibility test. See exactly what your body is capable of doing. So many golfers believe they are incapable of getting into certain positions. You're going to be able to know that if you take yourself through this test. Description box below, click on the link and go find out the truth.